track. Like, you've got to do a cleanup. And
Mhm.
I think having an agent to do that has got to be the way to do it.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, welcome everybody to Brain Food Live on Air, bringing it to you, I would say every Friday, no fail, but we're doing midweek Wednesdays now as well, as a midweek special. The demand for these conversations is such that once a week is not enough. So we've kind of gone like a unofficial bi-weekly on this. And yeah, great to have the people come on and share conversations twice a week rather than once a week. It's going to be a really interesting show, folks. We're going to talk about the state of the TA and HR job market as of Q1 2026. Why is this interesting? I think all of us have to be interested in this. Anybody who's been in the industry, we know it's been a roller coaster over the last 5 years. A couple of peaks, but basically a lot of troughs as well. Really fast up and down volatility. But what is actually going on as far as job posting data can tell us? And that's what we're going to try and explore today. We've got our friends at Aspen Labs. They're going to come up, AspenTech Labs, should I say. They're going to come on and basically bring aggregated data on job postings on our particular function. So we're not interested in software engineers. We're not interested in CFOs. We're interested purely in recruiters, HR people. What is the job market saying from the data there? Anyway, that's the topic of the show. I'm here with my man, Tommy Lai. Tommy, not only brilliant co-host, but also brilliantly color coordinated marketer, as you can tell by his entire outfit there, the colors there, even the animals. What's the little pet called, mate?
It's called Leo. It's a balloon dog, and it's there because it's featuring in one of our upcoming keynote events, and it's the same color as our logo. So, yep, you're right. Color coordinated. Well spotted.
It's
Thank you.
absolutely perfect. And I'm going to have to put in a request for a balloon dog. I think I need one of those guys in my screen. Tommy, for the folks who don't know you, why don't you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tommy Lai. I'm the marketing director at Olio. Olio is an ATS and AI tech provider, and my focus is really about demystifying the black box of AI in the recruitment community and listening to challenges and communicating solutions for these challenges. And for example, one challenge is every job application landing on your desk right now looks qualified, which is a pretty big problem. And that's because AI has made it super easy for candidates to create polished applications. And so therefore, I hear that problem a lot, hear it almost every week from TA leaders. And so my job is also to communicate the solutions that exist for those sort of challenges. And if anyone's interested in this specific solution that Olio has, we're going to talk about it on March the 31st, and it'll be premiered live for the first time. So happy to share a link in the chat if anyone's interested.
Share the link in the chat, because I do believe the CEO Charles Hipp is going to be in front of camera, which is fantastic. Because it's not often we get to get the C-suite up there on screen and explaining vision and how that manifests the product. So yeah, definitely share the link there, Tommy. I'm sure people will check it out. Folks, I just want to also confirm AV. I want to make sure audio visual is fine. I'm broadcasting from a new place in a hotel, which is the worst type of Wi-Fi you can risk. But I've got no choice. But here I am. So, folks, if you can hear and see me and Tommy on screen, let me know in the comments there. We are broadcasting this live across a number of LinkedIns as well. So I do believe Olio's LinkedIn page is broadcasting. I think AspenTech Labs' LinkedIn page is also broadcasting. I'm also broadcasting, so you can hear and see me across any of those channels. Let me know in the comments whether the audio and visual is okay. Okay, Laguna Beach, good Lord, wouldn't I like to be there? Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Daniela, thank you, Emma, all good. All right, brilliant stuff. So I think we should just dive straight into the data, Tommy. I don't know about you, because you and me, I mean, I guess you would have a little bit more insight than me, because your customers are folks, really, aren't they? And they use Olio software, but it's not really I don't suppose it's particularly visible to you guys as to how the state of the TA market is going, unless there's a way in which you could track and the volume of talent acquisition jobs as vacancies across the Olio sort of portfolio customers, but I haven't asked you to do that, so I don't think you'd be able to tell us anything about that. But yeah, but as a vibe check, what do you reckon the last couple of years has been for us in the industry, Tommy?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, there was a data point I shared with you, I think a few weeks ago. So we've seen across our platform and across our entire customer base, I think something like up to a 40% increase in job applications. So that's telling us something. And that's talking about that pressure that I was alluding to, really, that TA folks are under increased pressure to try to sift all these applications. They try to find the good from the, I guess, AI perfect types of applications. So that's one trend that's definitely, I think, on the rise given the sort of tools that are available to candidates at the moment. So yeah, that's my initial reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. AI perfect. I love that term. And it is also coincident with the fact that, the AI sort of teams are not necessarily increasing. So we've had a couple of bumps up, but more bumps down. And we've just rolled into, probably started at end of 2024, 2025, where we start to see these applicant surges coming in. And yeah, basically sort of underhanded TA teams trying to deal with it as best we can. Not easy. Okay, so let's bring on Isabel. She's going to help us with this. Isabel, I've just sent you an invitation. Oh, here she is. She's coming on now. And yeah, we're going to basically run through some data essentially, and see where we're at. Oh, we've lost Isabel, but hopefully that will come back shortly. Tell you what,
Yeah.
it still is a bit fiddly. I got to re-invite Isabel. I'm going to re-invite you, and then hopefully that'll you get another pop-up to say you're on. Accept everything. Oh, there she is.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you and see you. So
Okay,
great
awesome.
to connect, Isabel. And I know you got up early for us to do this for us, so thank you very much. Isabel, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, it worked out because in the US we had daylight savings this past week, so it's
Ah,
actually we're an hour closer. So
yeah.
it worked
I
out
feel
this
less
week
bad now. Yeah, I feel less
for
bad.
everyone here. Yeah, it's 8 a.m. for me, so not too bad. So yes, I'm Isabel. I'm a senior product manager at AspenTech Labs, and I specifically work on our job market pulse product, which is our business intelligence on top of all the jobs data we collect. So a lot of people know us maybe for our web scraping or our jobs index, raw jobs, but over the last couple of years, we've been building out a solution on top of all this data we have to say really what the heck is going on with the job market. I think right now, especially, there's lots of questions. What's going on with AI? What's going on with the government reporting? But I can kind of share what we have, which is data we collect directly from kind of over 300,000 corporate career sites. So it's not job boards. It's not kind of LinkedIn or Indeed. It's jobs coming directly from corporate career sites and what we've kind of seen over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And the reason why that's like it's worth talking about that in terms of data quality is because these are jobs that are direct employer and they're connected with the creation of a job within an ATS. So this is not a scenario where, the job is public and a bunch of recruitment agencies have decided to clone that job and post them everywhere. And then suddenly that one job translates into, what looks like 50 different entities. And it really confuses what the job market is saying. The information that we're going to be looking at here is purely drawn from career web pages. So these are companies on their own domain that are saying, actually, we're hiring for this.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, listen, Isabel, I asked sort of you guys to focus on our little industry, TA and HR. I think we got the vibe. Obviously, it's been tough market, but I wanted to just say, okay, do we have any data to just validate our feeling that it's tough, or is it just a vibe session? I mean, we've talked about that scenario. What is it? What is it we're looking at? I wonder whether we could dive straight in there. Like, what is how far does the data go with regards to talent acquisition jobs, and what can you tell us about it, Isabel?
All right, can I share my screen?
You can give it a shot. There's this thing at the bottom. I think you got full permissions, but give it. You see that little arrow there? There we go. Okay, cool.
3%. Okay, so definitely we'll spend majority of our time on what's going on in TA, but I just wanted to quickly start with what we're seeing in this job market as a whole to provide some context, right? Because we can say, okay, TA is up 3%, down 3%, but how does it really, what does that mean in relation to the whole job market as a whole? So I thought we could just start there really quickly. So I think I kind of gave an intro about AspenTech Labs and our job market pulse product. So the February BLS report just came out last week. So I wanted to highlight it here. This is the government kind of reporting, and it said we lost 92K jobs in February. It also revised January down slightly and December actually down quite a bit. So one, interesting data point, I think this is based on payroll data for how many like jobs were added or removed kind of in February. And, I think the market moves on BLS data. The US government has been collecting it for a long time and has their methodology, but we think maybe it's not perfect. So it's lagging, it's kind of released weeks later, it's only based on survey data. And then kind of most importantly, they've been making tons of revisions. So December was like up when they released December, and now this time they just revised it down. So it's really hard to kind of get a picture of what's happening. I think as we start to move over to our data, like it's collected real time each day from corporate career sites. So it's really fresh. And also it's not changing historically. So
quick one, Isabel. Let's go back to this on data quality. I think it is important to underline this. BLS, this is sort of, it has been for a long time the benchmark measure of job health, hasn't it? But could you flick through one more? I'd love to see the bullet points on this. This is really interesting because some of these, all of us need to become more data literate is the point I'm trying to make. And even though government might end up with all the best intention in the world to publish this information, there were huge problems. The sampling itself, like how was the data collected? Turns out is collected by telephone. So in other words, you can imagine hundreds of people calling up, I guess, HR departments. And what are they asking exactly? They're saying, have you created a new job? And then you just imagine, okay, how many people are actually picking up that phone? How many of those people who do pick up the phone are giving accurate information? How many of them are just, lonely and just want to have a chat with somebody? Like, we don't know, right? So data collection, big problem.
And specific month February where there was so much weather like issues, like were people picking up the phone? Like, is that going to have an effect on the like quality of the data? And I don't know. So it's.
Can I ask a question here, Isabel? You might not be able to answer this. I think the BLS guys might definitively know. But how do we know that the correction is correct? Because when sort of they say, "Oh, we got it wrong 2 months down," like what new information have they got 2 months down the line that they didn't have previously? Do you know that?
I think I need to get smarter on that too. What is really the reason for some of these revisions going back, and why can't they do that right away? So I don't know the answer to that. But
yeah, I just wonder whether they make a follow-up phone call. I mean, is that what happens? I mean, we don't know. Bottom line, folks, we have to become more data literate, maybe more data critical, so that we say, okay, how did you generate that number? What does that chart look like? And actually, do you provide access to the primary data? Maybe that's one of the signals that you might say, okay, this is potentially trustable. If the methodology is published and they actually say, okay, if you don't believe us, here's the primary data yourself, give it a look. Okay, cool. Sorry for the intercession there, Isabel. I just wanted to say that.
I think it's worth touching on for sure. There's always articles about it every time it comes out. Okay, so here's what we're seeing in the US. And I just want to highlight these two lines quickly. So we're always trying to add to our jobs index, find more job postings online that we haven't seen previously, or we don't track those companies. And so this top line, is our overall jobs in what we call our jobs index. And that's always going up and to the right because we're adding more companies. However, the bottom line, when we look at anything kind of over the last year plus, we're excluding that. So we can really look at the trend. So anything we've added recently, we're excluding. So this bottom line here is more important for when we say what's going on with the job market. So year over year, it's down 2%, month over month, down 5.5%. That might just be because February is a shorter month. We do see a close in job postings as you get towards the end of the year and a rebound at the beginning of the year. And apologies if I'm looking to the right. That's where my monitor is. So everything else we're talking about today will just be this bottom line. So excluding kind of anything we've added in the last year, just in case anyone was wondering if that was affecting our data. It's not.
Yeah.
So that's what we're seeing in the US. We do have jobs from agencies, so recruitment agencies. So it accounts for like about 17% of our jobs. We can exclude them though. So when we can play around with it, I can show you, okay, what are we seeing when you exclude agencies, just looking at direct employers. Interestingly, we've seen a decline in jobs from agencies, kind of in the past couple of months, and it doesn't have this rebound as you get to the start of the year. Direct employer jobs, and this is for all jobs, not TA quite yet, is actually down just 1% year over year. So I thought that was interesting as we kind of start to dig in.
What's your theory behind that, Isabel?
I don't know if it's a little bit of a delay, if companies, as we get to the start of the year, are like trying to see how hiring is going on their own. I'm not sure yet. I would say maybe it's too soon to say for sure, but it is something we've noticed at the start of the year that we're tracking.
Or maybe change of behavior from recruitment agencies, right? So recruitment agency friends, anybody who's working agency side, like, have you stopped posting jobs? And what would be the explanation for that? Let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to know whether you've had the assessment that it's less effective, let's say, or perhaps it's got more expensive, or you got another route to find candidate. Or it could simply be less jobs. Let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear what explains this. Looks like a pretty significant looking drop, to be honest. So
another theory we have is there's a couple large agencies when I say large, I mean in terms of how many job postings they have that maybe do a lot of like replication, and maybe a few of those have changed their strategy. So one idea we have is to look at maybe just a handful of agencies, maybe some that are smaller and some that are bigger, and comparing the trend there. Because if they used to have tens of thousands of jobs and now they're down, maybe that was just a change in strategy, exactly as you suggested.
Very interesting.
Does this correlate to year-on-year data? So I can imagine maybe in November you might see a drop given the Thanksgiving holiday season, that type of thing. December too. I know you got February versus February, so it looks like there's a drop there. But is it the same November on November?
So in our annual report, which was like year over year, we were down 3% in the US. And so actually, as of March 1st, we're down 2%. So we've actually seen a slight uptick in the beginning of the year, like year over year comparisons.
Okay. So overall, it is going down. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's job vacancies going down generally, right? As the big headline. I mean, again, lots of nuance on that, but just the absolute numbers of vacancies created this time compared to last, it's down 2 to 3% essentially in the US.
Okay, we do track, some large public companies specifically. I thought this is interesting that, year on year, they're actually about the same or up. So if you look at all kind of Russell 1000, which is large companies in the US, and S&P 500. Now, this does include their jobs like worldwide, not just jobs in the US. Everything else was just US. So perhaps they're moving their hiring, outside, but we have seen it be pretty stable within some of, the largest Fortune 1000 companies in the US.
Super interesting. What we're saying here is, again, I'm just leaping to conclusions here, Isabel. So you correct me if my impulsiveness is a bit wrong here. But so all of the job losses might be happening in smaller companies. I mean, or at least not the megacorps. Megacorps, they're not growing, they're not shrinking, or it equals basically. But let's say your 5,000 person type organizations, maybe they're not recruiting as much. They're literally they're basically where the job losses are coming from is from those.
Yeah, and it's also interesting you read about a lot of layoffs and companies announcing layoffs, and their hiring strategy doesn't seem to be changing that much. So I would say that maybe points to some large companies had overhired and now are letting people, as opposed to jobs totally being replaced by AI today. That's one other theory we have, but it's certainly interesting. And so we're digging more into, are they moving to other countries, or, what's happening here? I just wanted to highlight this, like we have an AI index. So this is job postings from kind of 50 prominent AI startups in the US. And we'll dig into what kind of TA jobs they're hiring for, is just an idea for, some companies that are at the forefront. But these companies have seen a huge kind of increase in job postings. Probably not surprising, these kind of 50 AI startups. So we can dig more into that. This is their total job postings. And I'll just touch quickly on salary transparency. So in the US, we've seen in 2025, over 50% of jobs have salary, and I don't expect that to, drop below 50% anytime soon. This is looking at, we have a salary parser, which parses it out anywhere in the job posting, whether it's in the title, description, etc. And then there's a raw salary field. This bottom line is if there's a nice, clean, raw salary field. So both are increasing, but a lot of times it's not in that its own salary field. It's in kind of other spots on the job posting.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Let me just quickly touch on other countries, because we'll dig into that for TA. So kind of the three other countries I picked, UK, Germany, France, and they are kind of, it looks like down a bit more than the US year over year.
Down a bit, they're getting batters. Look at this, Germany, 6.4% down. That's crazy. And getting worse, I hate to say it, because we're hearing VW. I think this is before this slide deck was presented. 50,000 jobs getting cut, I think. One of the biggest employers in Germany. And also a retrenchment for in auto is going to have a lot of knock-on effects for so many of those smaller suppliers in the German automotive sector. Of course, again, don't want to bring geopolitics in, but chaos in the world, increased oil prices, that can only drive these numbers further to the red, I'm afraid to say, because the cost of doing business is going up. If you're running an economy which has got basically a high degree of energy inefficiency, and you're running energy intensive organizations, all of that is going to get more expensive, which means you're going to chop even harder. So yeah, these are grim numbers, but it looks like it's going to get grimmer, at least for the foreseeable.
We'll be tracking it closely. I know it's hard to say, but okay. So this is overall. Now let's dig into TA. So we use Looker, which is our business intelligence platform, and this is all our data here. So I just zoomed in on kind of the human resources category, which is what we broadly call kind of all these job titles. I'll show you below. So can you see this new screen?
Yeah. Hang on, Isabel. What we're looking at here, this is actually the dashboard for AspenTech Labs customers, right? If they're on this, they would see this. Is that correct?
Yes. It might look just a tiny bit different, but all the same underlying data. This was focused to really kind of show you these year-over-year changes in different job titles. But yes, it's almost exactly the same.
Cool. Good to know. Okay, talk us through it, Isabel.
Okay, so we're looking at, in the US, at human resources. So these are monthly totals. So any job posting that's been live in the previous month, and that was the same as kind of those overall US numbers. So right now we see about 40,000 jobs that were live in February. It's up 5.5% month over month. I think that's still like this new year as job postings are coming back. But actually, interestingly, I see it up 3% year over year compared to the overall US, which was down 2%. So that's pretty really flat throughout the year, and actually an uptick as we get to the start of the year here. And then looking at companies versus agencies. So companies, it actually looks pretty flat, 31,591 to 31,311, like a difference of just 200 jobs. And then agencies, it was actually up. So I would say it looks pretty flat year over year, just looking at jobs from direct employers in the TA space. Now, as you get into subcategory, here's where I thought things get interesting. So in our taxonomy, we have 3 levels: category, which is HR, and subcategory, and then job title gets more specific. But interestingly, as we talk about like titles changing or job functions changing, like a lot of HR roles are down year over year, but anything recruiter and TA is up.
Well, that's surprising, isn't it, Hung? Like we were just talking at the top that there are less and less TA jobs out there. The teams are getting smaller.
Yeah, so this is super interesting. So when you say
biggest one is recruiter by job count, it looks like here with 11,000, and that's up 26%.
That's crazy. Folks, have you got a theory? Let me know in the comments. Does that feel right to you? Bear in mind, this is United States data over the last 12 months. And it's drawn from, again, these career websites, right? So this is employer. We can trust this data. And it's not sort of dupes and stuff like this. What explains this scenario where human resources, that term, so we're talking about terms here, the term has gone down, but recruiter has gone up in a crazy way. What's your theory? Actually, Isabel, asking my question to you. What's your theory? Is it a case whether the job categories have shrunk, or have human resources people call themselves something different going forward, and maybe recruiters have maybe lost the diversity of job titling and they've just merged back into the one generic thing? Perhaps that's a sort of an explanation, but I'm like clutching at straws here, so I don't know. What's your thoughts?
I know it was interesting too, and as we looked at kind of even some of the biggest changes in titles and all of it, outside of just TA, recruiters at the top and HR was down. So I was wondering, are titles changing? Is it like our roles having to encompass more, which is like recruiting, and on the HR side, talent and TA is like a buzzword. So it's something I think we need to keep digging more into, and we can go into just job titles, which gets a little bit more specific as well. And I can come back up if here. And is it big enough? I'm sorry, I can try and zoom in a little bit too. If that's helpful.
I think that is helpful. Thank you. Okay, so
here are some HRs that have increases as well. So this is now job title, which is the most specific. So recruiting manager, recruiter could have all been combined in the above one. And here's the biggest changes. So all of these ones with decreases start with HR, which I just thought was super, super interesting.
That is interesting. What do you reckon, Tommy? What's your explanation to this, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, we've been looking at the UK's data on employment and skill surveys, and I think one of the correlations is actually entry-level roles are slowly being eradicated, maybe due to AI and automation. So when I see HR specialist there, number 2, one of the largest reductions or decreases based on total count of number of vacancies, that kind of makes sense to me. But when you say the increases is in recruiter, now I'm still stunned. I mean, I think that's great for our industry, all of us working in TA. But yeah, those are my first thoughts. I mean, we have seen across all sorts of industries, entry-level roles, early careers roles where, perhaps in the past we wanted young people to come in and we wanted to train them up. Some of those and some of that kind of, I guess, grunt work or heavy lifting, some of that can easily be automated, it is being replaced by some of our, I guess, slightly more experienced people using prompt engines and start to use AI engines. So that kind of makes sense to me. And I guess, for HR tech vendors, right, we're always talking about automation, reduce some of the manual work, replace it with, I guess, higher value work. So if I guess lower level roles are being eradicated slowly, that perhaps might correlate to that. But there's a mixture though, isn't there? That there are kind of mid and senior level roles too.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me, but I want to just tap on this seniority thing. And so Isabel, on the talent acquisition stuff here, where is talent acquisition manager? That's almost like the stereotypical job title. But I wonder whether it's collected there or maybe it's called something different in the US, because I just got a feeling that there is a sort of trend that people are, I wouldn't say getting rid of managers, but no one is not a doer these days. So is the expression of, recruiters growing, maybe that's a sign that, the leadership is getting crunched down, but we need more like doers in there, and perhaps that's part of the reason. But I don't know. There is talent acquisition manager. That's still growing a little bit. It's at 10, but it's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for X number of recruiters, you will need a manager to lead that cohort and that team. There's an interesting comment from Emma Mirrington at the moment in the chat, and she's just saying the same. She's seeing less entry level roles and seeing a shift to this pyramid org shape. Shift from pyramid org shape to diamond shape. So, that's kind of aligns with what you were just saying, Hung. We need more people kind of doing in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to bring Emma on in a bit, and she's going to help discuss this with us. But this is very interesting data indeed. So always good, by the way, to have sources of data that invalidate some preconceptions, at least as far as US data is concerned. So it may not be as doom and gloom as we might sort of always think of it in that respect. So this is again stuff we're going to want to keep an eye on over time. So hopefully it continues to tick up. So it's got to be a good thing that more recruiter jobs are out there. Should mean more recruiting somehow, So that's good.
Also, just tried to make sure we were just looking at jobs from direct employers to see if that changed things, and it doesn't look like. So I just source type is company, so that would remove agency jobs. So you can see 11,000 versus, let's see how many there were, 23,000. So even just by raw jobs, there are a lot of jobs from agencies called recruiter, but I think it's slightly, numbers look similar. And I can do a full side-by-side comparison and share that after, but it doesn't look like major changes.
Yeah, and the arrows are still pointing in the same direction, aren't they? It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the year-on-year change is still increased, so that's got to be a positive thing. I'd love to know what sectors are increasing there as well. I don't know whether we got that data, but that may be something that, again, part of I'm very hyper focused on certain types of sectors, and that probably makes me guilty of kind of thinking that's the size of the world. But there may well be some other functions or other sectors are growing more than others. Oh, the state level stuff is quite interesting. So I guess it's kind of expected though, isn't it? Like California, New York are going to be the big engines for a lot of this stuff. And I'm assuming DC is going to be collapsing on us, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, someone's been hammered. Georgia, what's happened to Georgia? Those poor guys. What's going on? It's like European levels of redness.
You can zoom into MSA as well. So Dallas increasing, San Francisco, maybe we've been hearing San Francisco's coming back a little bit, increasing. Yeah, Atlanta is
Isabel, is it fair to say, I think from my limited knowledge of kind of industry specialism in US, is Texas big on utilities, oil and gas?
I think Texas is also growing on the tech side, and I think Texas has a lot of has net like immigration, like more people are moving to Texas and moving out of some other states. So I think it's growing in lots of areas. And some companies have moved bases there. So that could be it, as opposed to, yes, it is utilities, oil, like gas, but I think it's broader than that. They have a big tech scene as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're all ignorant on is like different sectors, like the numbers of people that work in those sectors and is not always clear. I don't think oil and gas employ that many people, sort of, at least not relative to the economic value of the work. Whereas, certain other sectors, basically have loads of people in them, healthcare, for instance, social care, have got like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of workers in there. So yeah, super interesting.
See, another thing I thought was interesting is remote. So we talk about, is remote going away? Is it coming back? So we've seen remote, vacancies in TA actually increase in the last year. So they're 113% of where they were a year ago.
Totally against my vibe on that.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Yeah, that is totally against my vibe. Folks, let me know what you think. Is this, I mean, I guess this is all still US data, right? So US friends, how does this read to you? Does it make sense or not? But, if it doesn't make sense, we have to have a theory on this. Yeah, very good indeed.
Okay, so we can look, I think I have UK selected first, and then we can zoom into,
okay.
Would you like, or?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so again, it seems like, I have it on human resources roles, are holding steady in the UK. So down a bit month over month, but about flat kind of year over year. And I can zoom in if we want, or here we can see the breakdown between company and agency. I think agencies make up a higher percentage of the roles in UK. It's a little over 20%, or even maybe that's more for HRTA, but broadly in the UK. And looks like agency roles are down and company roles are flat to up.
Yeah, really interesting. What are we looking at?
Let's see what we're seeing on the subcategories.
Wow, recruitment manager,
so not what we're
getting
seeing.
blasted. Dude, this is it.
And
This is this.
recruiters
I
down,
wouldn't say this is what I want to see, but I think this is what I'm hearing. So recruitment managers
expecting to see.
basically, yeah, that's the expected result. Recruiters are down a little bit, but the management here getting hammered. Although recruitment manager sometimes that can be a one-person sort of function, and maybe it's not dissimilar to recruiter. But yeah, I think this is part of the reason why we tailor two worlds, right? UK is in the doldrums, it seems. Human resource assistant going up though, that's something again I would have thought quite surprising. That's kind of against the, it's not a huge number though.
Takes a second to pull up the raw jobs, but you can see like what. And by the way, if anyone wants access to play around with this, let me know. We'll give you an access just to demo it, play around with THR, because we're all trying to understand, what's going on, and we welcome any feedback. But sometimes I like to just check, like, okay, are we classifying these jobs right? But it looks like, so I just quickly can pull up like a sample here. So it looks like it is assistant, some administrative assistant, but for the most part, it is.
There's a lot
Just in
of
case
public
maybe
sector.
we were classifying them something differently.
I love that. There's a lot of public sector. I see a few sort of legal firms as well. Police are in there. That's interesting for you, isn't it, Tommy? Not to say he's interested in the police, but
Some of our customers listed here. Yes, yeah, more of our customers actually. As you keep scrolling.
Yeah, really, really good. Olio, by the way, basically heavily into the police, the ATS of the police force in the UK. Okay, and we obviously see some agencies there as well. Very, very interesting. Okay, what else do we need to look at here, Isabel?
Should we look at Germany quickly?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's going on? Okay. Let's see. Just take a second to update. Okay. Wow.
Wow. Okay. Significant change.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Yeah. So let's keep scrolling on this. Agency and direct is very close, right? So I assume basically agencies are far less dominant here in Germany than in the UK. That makes sense, I think. More direct employer. Let's keep going.
They tracked pretty closely in the last year.
Yeah. And again, folks, this is HR data, HR jobs data in Germany over the last 12 months. What are we looking at here?
This is at the subcategory.
Yeah.
So down, talent acquisition manager, which you had mentioned earlier, is actually the one that's up in Germany.
Interesting. So interesting. Wow, this is great.
And then I know a couple other things one other thing I wanted to show. So we have this list of 50 kind of AI startups that we look at, and here's the human resource trend for these companies. So they're growing overall, no surprise, they're kind of growing on the HR side. And I just thought, what are they calling kind of some of the freshest roles to see if that tracks with what we were seeing? Are they hiring recruiters? Are they, calling it HRTA? So this was I was playing around with this right before, which is what some of the most recent roles are. So you have, and obviously some of these have crazy high salaries from OpenAI, which is maybe not a surprise there. Is it? Zoom in more. Technical recruiter, I saw a lot of that. Recruiting operations manager, infrastructure manager. So maybe that speaks to recruiters kind of doing more. So I just thought this was interesting.
It is very interesting. So these are AI companies. These are the list of 50 AI companies, the TA/HR jobs within them, and what are they actually calling? Do you have any data in terms of what terms are starting to increase in usage compared to which ones are starting to slide away, Isabel?
So skills were almost there. I hope for our next one we'll be able to look more into skills to see what's growing and not. We took a big stab on the tech side with like tech stack, and then now we need to bring in kind of more TA and HR and marketing terms. So that's something coming soon from us, is to be able to dig more into skills. So sorry, I didn't have it done in time today.
But good to know that things are moving there. And another question for you with regards to the type of engagement that we're seeing. One of the things that I've noticed, again, anecdotally, is that a lot of the recruiter jobs seem to be like fixed term contract rather than permanent type contracts. And I think that speaks a little bit to, companies, let's say, not wanting to take on fixed costs without sort of some I guess, some card to play, which is obviously not renewing a fixed term contract. So an increase, if you like, of precarity into the function. Is that data you've got at all, Isabel? Is it not?
So we do have employment type there, and I didn't have it pulled up today for HR, but it's absolutely something we can look at to see if these kind of if that theory is right, if we're seeing more kind of contract roles. So it's definitely something we can look into.
Yeah, super interesting. Okay, Isabel, this is brilliant. Thanks for doing all this.
We do have a little on Waveside AI. So anyways, more to zoom in. If anyone wants to see more, please let me know, or we maybe have some ideas for next time anyways. So
yeah, definitely. I want to keep doing these shows because, folks, is this interesting? I mean, let me know in the comments, because I've basically spoke to Lana and Isabel. And I said, hey, listen, it'd be quite cool to do at least a quarterly stuff like this and just pipe it in so that we in recruitment stroke HR can monitor what the heck things are looking like, particularly if we're out there, charging away and trying to find jobs for ourselves and having a struggle. So yeah, very, very useful. Okay, I want also people to comment in and let us know what your theories are on some of the things we've discovered. Has the data shown that Isabel showed us there? What is it confirmed in your preconceptions, and what has it actually invalidated? This is something I'd really hope to get on with a little bit more. Okay, Isabel, you're free to go, but I'd love to keep you on screen if you're okay with it. We're going to bring on
Absolutely.
Emma Mirinton. I think Natalie, if she's here as well, I'll bring her on as well. By the way, folks, anybody else wants to come on and have a chat with us, feel free. Just raise your hands in some way. I'm happy to drop you in. I want basically to have a discussion basically on what we've just seen. So yeah, if you want to join us, just raise your hands and I'll get you on. But Emma, I've just invited you on screen, so you're going to join us in a bit, and then we'll see where we're at. Oh, there's Emma. Emma, great to see you again.
Hi, everyone.
Emma, for the folks who don't know you, why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I am CEO and founder of the Talent Labs, formerly known as The Firm, which was a LinkedIn group for talent acquisition professionals. And we're now a fully fledged membership organisation for talent folks, spanning talent acquisition, talent management and talent development. Also do lots of training and consultancy too.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Emma. And Emma, you left out the most important bit, which is you and me used to be colleagues, didn't we?
We did, sorry, hon.
Come on. Why is that not? Why is that not
many years ago?
The first thing on your CV. All right, there's Emma. Make sure you connect with her. Em, what is your view on the data that Isabel showed on screen? Was there anything that surprised you from that, and maybe conflicted a little bit with your own sort of sense?
Yeah. So initially with the US data, I was really surprised because that wasn't what I was seeing. And we are predominantly a UK-based organisation with our membership. 70% of our members are in the UK. So I would say actually then when you showed up the UK data, that's much more reflective of what we're seeing. I think I touched on the sort of, Tommy saw it as well, sort of the fact that we're changing organisation shapes from being a traditional pyramid where you have lots of entry-level roles at the bottom, or less senior roles at the top, and now moving to much more of that pyramid, the diamond shape. So less entry-level roles at the bottom, much more of a sort of push and focus on that middle management. And so from a TA perspective, that 360 recruiter role. So I think we're seeing less opportunities for senior folk in TA, less entry-level opportunities, much more of a focus on sort of that middle level tier role. And it's interesting because you can it's sort of semantics of role, because some of these might be a TA manager. So Hung, you said that a TA manager could be responsible for 360 recruitment in some organizations. In some they may be managing teams.
Yeah, we've not helped ourselves with the terminology there, have we? Like business development manager, are you managing the business development, which is fair enough, it's one way to understand it, or are you managing business developers? But they're two different seniority levels, clearly different categories of jobs, but we've commingled them together, and it's very difficult to parse that out. And I guess the only way to do that is probably to to get like employee size, so head count against the title, and then try and figure out what is really meant by a recruitment manager. So yeah, super interesting. But yeah, Tommy, your thoughts on this? The idea that functions are becoming more pyramidal, diamond shaped rather than pyramidal, should we say? I mean, as a marketing person, I mean, are you seeing this also? I mean, is a case where you want doers in there rather than just loads of tiers of management?
Yeah, it's happening in our marketing team, actually. So whilst we used to have headcount for 2 junior marketers, we don't anymore. And so, sadly, to a degree, for my team, some of who might be on this podcast listening today have absorbed some of that work. I mean, some of it, we found efficiencies by ourselves using more AI in our daily work. And I think that's probably going to keep happening. I think I see that across all industries and all roles. In every function, we're all encouraged, and the one thing that all CEOs and business leaders want, and that downward pressure, is use more AI, find more efficiencies, do things faster, quicker, at lower cost, use less people. So I think that's probably going to be a trend. But I think there is an upside to a degree, though, because it will help us to a degree if we leverage the right tech, probably to get back to doing more strategic work, doing higher value work as well at the same time. So, but yeah, sadly, I think there will be an impact on early, and there will be a continued impact on early careers. And certainly, I keep seeing that in marketing for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where probably in a complicated sort of time and a confused time, one of the few things that we might be able to kind of converge on is the sense that the entry-level job market in particular is extremely tough. And that is obviously hugely problematic for every company down the track, and also society down the track. What is it in the UK? We dip below like 10,000 vacancies for graduates or something. UK produces like 350,000 graduates a year.
I saw some stats around. So for NEET, not in employment, education and training, last year it was around 900,000 young people between 18 and 24, and it's now jumped to 985,000 in the UK. So it's really increasing.
Yeah, really, really difficult. What do we do about it, Isabel? Is there anything we can do about this? I mean, is it the case? I mean, I know I'm just putting you on the spot, but is it the case that you think basically companies are going to just continually optimize for the revenue of course, continually optimize to reduce cost, and unfortunately, it's going to mean that that career ladder is going to be continually hacked away. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's hard to say. You have someone like Jamie Dimon, like CEO of JP Morgan Chase, and let's say he figured out he could do the work with half the people. Like, would he do that? And what would be the repercussions on the economy? Like, I think he probably wouldn't. And so what are other things they can do? And what would, so it's hard to say, but obviously like bottom line is important. So I'm not saying they wouldn't, or they're like super altruistic, but I think, you have people thinking about that and how is it affecting the economy and broadly. But I did think Anthropic last week published a report on kind of the job market, and I thought that was really interesting. So I can send a link in the chat on what kind of they're seeing and what's the expected view and in terms of what's actually happening. But they also mentioned entry level hiring has seen a drop since ChatGPT launched. So yeah, I think we're seeing that for sure.
I think there is a social. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think there's a social responsibility angle to this as well. So a few of our members have they've actually stopped recruiting for internships and graduate programs. However, they've retained their work experience and work inspiration programs. So although they're not necessarily able to offer the permanent entry level opportunities themselves, they can still give younger people work experience and work opportunities, which I think is great.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. I mean, I hear your point, but I think a lot of people do associate sort of increase in NI and stuff like that in the UK, particularly for demand destruction, if you like, of hiring people. It is something we do articulate, even though we haven't talked about it overly much today. By the way, our good friend Neil Carberry, is he a sir yet? He's not, is he? He's a Neil Carberry, CBE, the CEO of the Recruitment and Employers Confederation. He's banging that drum. He's been banging that very loudly over a long time. So hopefully we're going to get some progress there. But the truth be told, of course, I think UK is in a particularly tricky moment. And it's the moment maybe a decade long. You know, this is not something that is going to turn around very quickly for us. I'm in Austria right now, and I had a really interesting conversation with another sort of person on this very topic about youth unemployment and what do we do about it. And he was talking about that there is kind of a revival of the old apprenticeship sort of deal. So rather than piping people into universities, it's like, okay, 16 to 18. That's 2 years you're going to spend in industry whilst you are also studying. So imagine a scenario where you are working half of your time, but you're also studying for something as you go forward. And then those organizations will either have first pick of the people who've gone through their training with you, or indeed, there'll be automatic job opportunity if you complete the course and what is in effect at the training program. What are our thoughts on that? I mean, do we need this style of connection between employers in the private sector and the young people, rather than what we've had, which is, okay, educate people at university level, jettison them into the market, have the market sort them all out, and then do again next year? What are our thoughts? Do we need employers basically stepping into the education space and creating that bridge? Do you see it happening? Thoughts, Tommy?
Yeah, well, I mean, my anecdotal story for you is my son's 16, and one of his friends, who's very smart, he is foregoing the university path. He wants to earn money now. He's going down the apprenticeship path. So whilst he's very capable and could definitely go to university, study almost anything he wants to go and be an electrician. Simple as that. He wants to earn faster. I mean, I guess the cost of going to university, the upfront cost of that kind of, I guess the 5 to 6 years you got to put in, got to go through A levels. You do 3 or 4 year courses are the norm now. And a lot of the graduates with a graduate degree go on to do a master's. So you end up doing 7 years. And that's kind of the benchmark now, isn't it? Because to try to compete, like you talk about the 300,000 a year, and there aren't 300,000 those entry level roles after your degree or master's. So it's super, super tough. So yeah, I think it'd be wonderful if we all redesign our employment opportunity and I guess take people on younger. I mean, one example within Olio, I did say early career roles or entry level roles within marketing, but in our technical department, we do take on trainee developers, apprenticeship developers, and we put them through years and years of training, and they do come out, they graduate, and they go on to become senior and experienced developers within our tech department. So we've seen it where we're embracing that ourselves. It is one path, but that also helps with the kind of specialist skills shortage as well. So Emma was referring to that NEETs number. I mean, I quickly referenced that we analyze the UK government employer skills survey. And one interesting thought that came out from that, I just called out myself, was that 71% of employers report finding candidates with specialist role-specific knowledge a problem and a challenge. And then 52% struggle to recruit people able to solve complex problems. And then 38 cite gaps in emotional intelligence and teamwork. So there's a real mixed bag there. And I do think one of the solutions must be and has to be, and is more inclusive, better for society, if we try to help these people kind of bed in sooner, as it were, because anyone with work experience that takes an apprenticeship path or a sandwich course path at university, they're miles ahead. I think we all know they're miles ahead of anyone who hasn't had any kind of work exposure of any kind, and they're more suited to providing or delivering value in the workplace straight away. So yeah, I'm all for it, and I think I'm telling you that we're trying to practice a bit of that ourselves.
Yeah, really. I'm all for mandating a kind of a sandwich course for a university grad. You have to just go get a job for you. You know what I mean? Just do that rather than just throw people into it at the age of 21, 22, whatever it is when they graduate. It's basically they need to have already have pre-built some of that stuff. Red says something really interesting there. So a lot of Gen Z are doing side jobs related to studies. That gives me both optimism and pessimism. Pessimism in the sense, are these people like struggling to make ends meet? They're driving Uber, they're delivering sort of pizzas as they're trying to do their dissertation. I don't think that's particularly good. But the positive angle of that, maybe they're creating some entrepreneurial stuff on the side. They're looking into how AI can create some arbitrage opportunities for them. Maybe we're going to end up with a situation where I think we will, won't we? We're going to end up with maybe a small minority of entrepreneurial young people that will have huge success exploiting new technologies and doing really well. But we're probably going to have the bulk of them basically be battered a bit by the conditions. Okay, let's talk about the sort of the TA world in general. The remote work is ticking up. Any explanation or thoughts on this, Emma? This is US-based companies posting TA jobs, and it seems there's a big increase, or at least some increase, of remote TA. Thoughts on this, Emma?
Yeah, I've not really seen that from sort of the data that we've seen. I know that people are really keen to still work on sort of hybrid recruiting patterns, but in terms of sort of an increase in remote opportunities or even an increase in sort of return to office, no, I wouldn't say it's sort of something that we're particularly seeing at the moment. The thing that we have seen is an increase in the contract opportunities, so less permanent opportunities for TA, which I think again is because of sort of the volatile environment we're all operating in at the moment. People not necessarily wanting to or able to increase their permanent headcount, but just sort of want to be able to turn the tap on and off.
Yeah, the FTC, those letters have swiftly followed any job adverts I've seen, at least again in the UK, so to say. So yeah, maybe we're going to end up as a default, where we're going to have to get used to 6-9 month contracts rather than full time. Which when we think about it, people have got full-time jobs anyway over the last 5 years or more, and that it hasn't resulted in any increased security really. It just means that everyone's just got to be a little bit more alert as to their career management than perhaps they did before. And I think that's another thing that all of us in TA and HR have got to get better at, which is kind of this: yes, you've got to do your job, but at the same time, you have to manage your career.
It's called career cushioning, which is a new term. I hadn't heard of that before. Career cushioning is when, alongside your sort of main role, you're really sort of focusing on what you can do to enhance your skills, making sure that your LinkedIn profile's up to date, that you're really sort of leveraging and working your network. So that's a term that I hadn't heard of before. It was a really interesting report by Robert Walters, actually. I should pop the link in here. But it also, in that report, said that 85% of professionals are looking to potentially consider a career move in 2026. And that's not just TA, that's sort of across the board. And I was really quite surprised by that.
25%, does that make sense to you, Isabel?
85%. 85.
My God, we've got 85% people looking to not only leave their jobs, to switch career. Isabel, do you have any data on that? I don't suppose you do you? I mean, there's no way we can
have more of the job, demand side is supposed to supply and people and what they have. But I would say it makes sense to me. It tracks, what's going on, making sure I'm putting my skills. Am I doing things with, AI in my job that I should add to my LinkedIn? I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I can see. I personally know people that have actually left corporate altogether, particularly senior and experienced folks. These are individuals that I would say 3-4 years ago might have, been headhunted. They'd never be on a job board. They'd be high demand, but they've been involuntarily looking for work now, and they've got to the point where maybe they're recognizing the market's not going to give them that, and they're saying, okay, There's other things I'm interested in. It's going to change, my path, but I'm going to go and do it. I'm going to be a swim teacher or something. I'm going to end up, just totally switching away from the corporate world, because the career ladder, so to say, the corporate climbing may be done. So yeah, fascinating stuff. We're all IBMers now. I'll be moving. You know what? We should probably do a show on this. Like, how do you identify the alternative career path? Not to say we're trying to push people into different sort of things, but what is it? How do we identify the thing that it is you want to do, and how do you actually make it work commercially for you? Maybe people who've gone through that path can tell us about it. It might be a very interesting one to look at. All right, folks, that's about it. I think we've come to the end of this show. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Isabel Woodrow, particularly, thank you for bringing all of that data and showing us all of that interesting information. Fantastic stuff. Do avail yourself of and give a play on some of this technology, on this stuff. I think Isabel's going to send a link for people to go ahead and do that. Emma Merrington, thanks for dropping in and sharing your wisdom. Tommy, thanks for being brilliant co-pilot as usual. Great to have you on the show. And folks, thanks everyone for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. We will be back in a couple of days. We've got another great show on Friday, by the way. This is called AI Judgment versus AI Recommendation versus Human Judgment. What do we really mean by humans in the loop? This is going to be a philosophical debate, folks, on what do we do when AI recommendation and your human judgment actually conflict. Have we thought about that? Are we going to give human beings the right of veto? Are we going to give human beings right of veto in every case? And if not, what are the conditions where we're not happy with that? I don't think anybody's talked about it. We've just assumed, humans are in the loop. It's all okay. What does it actually mean? That's what we're going to be talking about. We'll be there on Friday, 2 p.m. GMT. Make sure you're there. All right. That's about it, everybody. Thanks for watching.